Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Wednesday drawing session with me, Frank Cho. There's my trusty Pentel mechanical pencil with 0.7 HB millimeter lead and my kneaded eraser. And here's my favorite paper to draw on, Strathmore Bristolboard 300 series with vellum surface. Love the vellum surface because it grips the pencil really well. Today, I am going to draw one of my favorite characters when I was on Mighty Avengers, Miss Marvel. So I'm actually drawing her in her classic costume, which was originally designed by Dave Cockrum. So Dave Cockrum, you could actually kind of tell a Dave Cockrum costume a mile away. Usually the women have like a one-piece bathing suit and has this little sash around their waist. Dave Cockrum just loves sashes on women or something. So anyways, I actually had an image in mind of Miss Marvel. So Miss Marvel was essentially, she's basically Supergirl. And I wanted her, I had this image of her like in a flying pose. So she's kind of up in the air with her head slightly turned. So that was the pose I had in mind. And with that in mind, it's actually fairly easy to start laying out the figure on paper. As always, I start with the head first and basically figure out the rotation of her face, where she's facing and all that. And I kind of wanted her slightly turned, but kind of like facing forward, facing the, I guess, the reader. And once I have the general shape down, I basically start drawing the general anatomy. And I don't really include a lot of, female traits. At this point, I'm just focused on making sure that the anatomy is balanced. So I tend to draw like, very generic body shape. And since she's a female figure, I need to figure out, I start figure out that to widen the hips. And I kind of want her kind of slightly leaning forward as if she's like kind of like running forward in the air. So I want that her leg to kind of like extend forward as if she's like in almost like a running pose. So when you draw the leg, there's always like a slight bent to the leg. I mean, if you look at a lot of those ballet moves, you see a lot of those ballet legs. They're kind of there's like a nice little curve to it. So I'm figuring out how to draw the other leg, which is kind of like tucked backward. Again, I kind of want to draw that kind of like that, the running pose. So I went in and kind of like figured out, make sure to elongate the lower leg because the first pass had it looked like it was kind of short. And again, this is just a fairly a classic flying pose. So Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers, has this kind of long blonde hair. And when you're drawing hair, you think of it as a kind of like a mass. Don't think of it as individual strands of hair. Just think of it as like a mass, almost like as if she's wearing like a T-shirt on her head. So I'm not really, worried about individual hair. I'm just more worried about the basic general shape of her hair. Think of it as like a big giant mass, almost like clothing. So once I have it figured out, I lightly erase it, and then by lightly erasing it, I can see the underdrawing, And then this is a part that I really start detailing it, kind of like really kind of like getting that clean line into it. Again, so I'm drawing the face, her lips, and I want that her lips be kind of her mouth be slightly parted to basically her kind of looking off in the distance, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. You know, kind of gauging what's going on in the distance. Since she wears this mask, I'm not going to draw the her eyeballs. Just working on the hair. Just I'm at this point. I'm just like going with the flow. I'm just like figuring out what feels right. There's their hairline. There's her clavicle, collarbone. So once I kind of establish where her pectoral muscle is, that's when I add her bosom, because a woman's chest it lies over the pectoral muscle. Just drawing a nice wide hips. Drawing the upper leg, the quad. So there's that nice separation between the quad and the hamstring. So you need that line in the middle. And, you know, since female superheroes, I tend to give them like nice long legs. But not too long. You don't want these figures to look like El Greco figures where, you know, everything's elongated. Yeah, I just had to. I noticed that that arm was a little bit too short, so I had to like elongate it, the bicep area, the upper arm area. By elongating that, the lower portion needs to be lowered. Drawing the fist. And a lot of people, you guys are asking me, how do I know the anatomy so well? I mean, like, I've been drawing anatomy, gosh, since I was a kid. And I went to nursing school, so I actually studied anatomy a lot. And in high school, I wrestled and lifted weights, and so you know, and so me and my buddies really into bodybuilding and weight training. So you study the human body and the muscle a lot. So after a while, it just becomes second nature. But if you really want to know your anatomy, I recommend you go get like a figure drawing book that kind of has all these body parts, and just copy it from page to page. So from page first page all the way to the end. Do that a couple of times. The knowledge of the human body, it just becomes part of you. So that's what I did when I was younger. I used to copy anatomy books until the human anatomy became pretty much like a second nature to me. So there's a Miss Marvel's that one piece uniform that she wears, and there's that sash that there's that famous Dave Cockrum sash. That is such a 70s design. I mean, just every time I draw those Dave Cockrum costume, just makes me laugh because it's so dated. And the funny thing is, I mean, even though it's dated, there's a certain charm to it. I grew up reading all of that stuff, so even though I know it's goofy, but I still enjoy the look of it. So since the hair is the wind is blowing from right to left, you want to make sure that the sash is also following that wind pattern, dictated by the movement of the hair. I really enjoyed drawing Miss Marvel during my Avengers run at Marvel. I was reading a little bit about Miss Marvel and how she came to be. Essentially, they just wanted I think Stanley just wanted another female superhero character. And he said, hey, can we create another female superhero character with the word Marvel in it? So I think they killed Captain Marvel to create Miss Marvel. Because I think when Captain Marvel died, who was a dude at the first Captain Marvel was a dude. And when he died, I think she somehow absorbed some of his power, and that's how she became Miss Marvel. Again, the name Miss Marvel is such a 70s thing. I mean, who calls a superhero Miss? It's just yeah. The 70s comics, 70s time period. It's just goofy. I really think that things really start working, really start kicking butt. I think in the 80s. I think from 80s onward, I think superheroes are more becoming more treated as a more of a serious literature and giving more respect. I mean, 50s, 60s, and 70s comics it was just goofy as hell. And although things will start changing in the 70s, because people are getting more and more, start seeing things or start treating comics as more than just a kid's comic. So you see Batman turning darker. You see a lot of more adult themed storylines being introduced in the 70s, especially with Neil Adams and God, what's his name? Jerry Conway doing those drug stories. And actually with Stan Lee and Marvel, that kind of led the way. They started doing more adult stories. But yeah, I think 80s was a time period that I collected my comics. I started collecting comics. And I think 80s to me is like the golden age of comics. There's a lot of great stories, a lot of great stories, a lot of great creators and artists. So when you're drawing the eye mask, I try to follow the contour of the face. So if you know the contour of the face, you can easily create where the highlight goes. Drawing the lips. I know they changed their costume, because of, I mean, it is a bit of kind of a revealing costume. But I still have like really fondness for Miss Marvel's costume, the her classic Dave Cockrum costume. I think there's something very iconic about it. It's basically a black one piece suit with this big lightning bolt in the middle. I think it's almost it kind of has the same similar vibe as like the Punisher's costume, which is like a black outfit with this giant white skull. I mean, it's such a very graphically pleasing costume that Punisher has, and I thought Miss Marvel has that similar vibe. It's just a black one piece bathing suit with the lightning. I mean, she has a very iconic look. And I understand why they changed it to be more politically correct. When they changed her to Captain Marvel and put her in a more of a kind of like a military uniform. I understand that, but I still miss her old classic costume. I mean, it's just that lightning, that kind of that. It's so iconic. So learning how to shade, when someone's wearing a black costume, learning how to shade, um, you know, where to create the highlights and where to, put in the deep shadows. I learned how to do that looking at bodybuilding magazines. So a lot of the bodybuilders have this like really deep artificial tan. So the where the muscles fall in the shadows are like just deep black, and then where the lights hits it, you get this just brilliant highlight. So by looking at that, you kind of like figure out how to do shadows and light on a black costume. So yeah, if you have trouble, just look at those bodybuilding magazines and look at how the light and the shadows fall on the muscle groups in the forearm. Yeah, just kind of rub it in just to kind of soften the tone of the costume. Give it that nice softness. And then so you can go in and really darken the the deep black areas, and then add highlights later by erasing. So as I was drawing that shoulder, so I just recently started wearing bifocals. It sucks getting old, and I can't see especially at night when I was drawing this at night. When your eyes get tired, everything started losing focus. And so that shoulder actually kind of gave me a hard time because I couldn't see that area clearly. So I just basically drew and just kind of aimed for the middle kind of thing. So when I draw, I mean, I draw mainly at night, and I think I really need to stop doing that. I think I should draw during the daytime where it's like better light. And it really, lighting just makes a huge difference. When I was younger, I can draw whenever, wherever, but now as I gotten older, I have trouble seeing stuff at conventions because like the convention lighting is so terrible. So you don't see me too. I rarely draw at convention tables now because like I just have a hard time seeing the paper what I'm drawing. And so even in my studio, I mean, at night, I have a hard time seeing what I'm drawing because one, it's a little darker, and two, yeah, I mean, your eyes just get tired at the end of the day. Which is funny because I used to make fun of my dad wearing his bifocals and all that, and and he would just tell me, "Hey, wait until you get old." But yeah, so I got these new bifocals, and it's hard. It's hard to get used to them because like at a certain angle, you have to like be in a certain angle to see things clearly. So just shading, just non-stop shading. So yeah, another cool thing about her costume is she has this thigh-high boots and her these long, this long gloves. Again, it's a very iconic look, and I'm just kind of sorry that that Marvel kind of got rid of that look. So yes, there's that line that separates the quadricep from the hamstring. Actually, this drawing came fairly easy because is again I've drawn Miss Marvel so many times as during my Avengers run, she just it's like second nature. Just drawing her, it just comes to me very naturally. Just adding some of the wrinkles in her tight thigh high boots. Just adding that little wrinkle, just kind of just add that little bit of realism to her legs. So Miss Marvel went through various different variation. I think at one point she lost her power to Rogue, who absorbed it, all of her power and her memory and all that, and then so Miss Marvel became binary, uh, and then I think she became Warbird too. So she had like a different bunch of different aliases uh, before ultimately becoming Captain Marvel. But yeah, but Miss Marvel, she is my favorite. Her favorite identity, or the favorite identity of Carol Danvers, the superhero. Actually, now I think about it, I don't know what her power is. So she's essentially like Supergirl. She's strong. She can fly. She's invincible, but I think she also can shoot power blast from her hand. So yeah, I don't know the the makeup of her power, but I don't know. She's a cool character. And drawing flowing clothing is actually kind of fairly easy. Um, I really enjoy drawing draperies and all that. I don't know why. I guess I looked at studied so many classical art that drawing drapery, there's something classical about it. So I enjoy drawing draperies. And then so when I get stuck on drawing draperies, I usually I have a towel in my studio, which I kind of pose and use that as reference when I'm stuck on it. Drawing that classic blonde hair, that long flowing blonde hair. I mean, that really is a nice look. She's wearing a black costume and the blonde hair and the black mask. There's something very classical and iconic about her overall appearance. So I'm using the eraser to kind of add highlights to the black costume. Just give it a more, by adding the highlights, it just gives it a more three-dimensional look. So adding highlights to her hair. More highlights. And just kind of like reinforcing some of the line, darkening the lines and all that. So I just like how everything kind of like turned out, on this drawing. Because like Captain America is such an iconic character, and I really do enjoy drawing her, and I actually miss drawing her in comics. So there it is, Miss Marvel from the Mighty Avengers in her classic costume. Hope you guys enjoyed it.